2025, and the storm has returned to New York City and Madison Square Garden. I couldn't be more excited to be here with two of the native sons of St. John's, Shawnelle Scott, Tyrone Grant. Welcome to the storm. This is the new show, everything St. John's basketball, and in turn, NYC basketball. A lot to discuss, a lot to celebrate. St. John's back in the tournament. Big East regular season champs. Big East tournament champs. 2 seed in the West region. Before we get into that, gentlemen, I am so happy to be doing this with you. Shout out to Ruben Rivera, my old friend, who's a friend of all of ours, who's working on this with us, who picked up the phone and called me. Let's start with the incredible ride you guys have been on with St. John's. Obviously, since you're teenagers, but right now in the present, Ty and Nell, tell the audience what it's been like being on this ride, now landing St. John's in the NCAA tournament.
The excitement level for me, myself, and I can speak a little bit for Nell, is overwhelming. We didn't feel like this in a minute. I mean, the excitement just to travel with the team and watch them perform and try to win this national championship is everything right now. So we here, we're excited, and we're looking forward to the next game.
I'm what you call over the moon right now. Over the moon of this present state of this program, St. John's men's basketball. Just been a fantastic season. I was in the Bahamas early in the season, and I got to watch the start of the game with Baylor, and it just seems, I knew something was magical about this team, and here we are.
What I felt watching that championship through the TV was what that Garden used to feel like for the Big East tournament when it was what it was. Can you both just take us back to not just the final, but the run through the tournament and how New York has continued to show out for St. John's and how much this was needed and welcomed because it's been a lull for so long since they had a real winner?
So I'm sorry now. So the vibration in the city is overwhelming, right? I haven't worn St. John's jacket in forever, and I literally took the train for like 3 days last week, and the people were going crazy. Not only that, in the finals, what I usually do when I go to the arena is I stand outside while the game is going on, just so if I could hear the arena, and I heard the inside of the arena. So I already knew the electric was back, but I just like to prove to myself, like, okay, they're getting where we was at 20 years ago when the arena was always bouncing. So the excitement in the city is up.
I mean, I transcended back to the early 90s. I mean, playing with Lou Carnesecca. Just seeing all the people to the rafters, like packing in there, you know. I think I was at the last 5 home games, and it was just like the old days. You know, everybody talk about it, and it's cliche, but it's 30 years, and it just seems like this team, they brought us back, and they gave a feeling to like people like me and Ty, like it gave a feeling that I can't even describe, you know. And you know, being at that last game against Seton Hall, I think when they clinched, who was it? Seton Hall when they clinched it, everything outright, and then the Big East tournament, it one of the best basketball experiences of my life, and you know, I'm gonna just leave it right there.
Yeah, but I mean, to piggyback what Nell just said, you got to think about it, I haven't been to the tournament in 20 years. Like, I have not gone to the Big East tournament in 20 years. I sit somewhere and watch it. This year, I had to be there. That's how exciting the team, just the team alone is just exciting. So I had to be there, experience it.
Yeah, I haven't been to a Big East tournament since I graduated. As a non-player, I haven't been to a Big East tournament, and this is my first time. And just like Todd said, taking the train every single day. I was taking the Long Island Railroad every single day, parking my car, and just being a fan and just experiencing it with all the other fans. It was just magical. I can't describe it.
Yeah, that fan experience is different. I never really experienced that this year, but that fan experience is definitely different.
Oh, man. I started going on the regular in 05, I think. So I was at the McNamara run in 06.
Okay.
I saw Coach Pitino win it with Louisville in 2009. And then 2009, I believe, is also the same year as the 6 overtime UConn-Syracuse game, which I was at, which I'll bore you with that story on another episode. And then, of course, the Kemba Walker run in 2011.
Yeah.
And then the final one in 2013, and anticipation of today, to get my mind right, I put on the Big East ESPN 30 for 30 last night.
Ooh.
And it was so special to watch again because they're filming at that Georgetown Cuse game, which was a semifinal in 2013, and I'm there. I'm there with a press pass, trying to figure out my career, shoot footage and shoot highlights and make something, and I'm reliving all of that all over again. And it was really really special. And one thing that I found really interesting that I want you guys to shed some light on is watching these Coach Pitino interviews the last few days. And someone asked him a really interesting question about the key to finding success in the second season. He did that everywhere he went, whether it was Providence, whether it was Kentucky, now with St. John's. What has it been like for you guys to see Coach Pitino? And we could talk about the personal journey another time, right? But Coach Pitino to come in this entirely new landscape of college basketball, knowing that he is so much part of the fabric of New York and New York basketball, and to transform this thing over 2 years across this new landscape that, of course, everybody has to deal with, meaning NIL and everything being out in the open now. What's it been like?
I mean, I think from my perspective, man, when people ask me about Coach Pitino, I said, listen, Coach Pitino been in situations where he had to manage men making money in college anyway. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of had a head start. Just listen to his excerpts and whatnot when it comes to when he's talking to the team or getting the team excited or whatever, Vice or any other, local media network come up with. Again, it brings back the excitement because it feel like he talking to me. You know what I'm saying? Feel like he talking to me. So he telling some kids certain things that I probably would share with kids. Not probably that I would share with kids, but the emotion behind it and being a fan now of St. John's is very, very interesting, and I love it. So, again, everything he's doing, I support 100%. The most important thing is he's getting through to the kids because those young men, not kids, but those young men are the ones who have to translate it onto the court, and that's what's happening. So it's a success.
I think Rick Pitino reaches into the basketball soul of his kids, and if you can't accept that as a young player, you're probably going to have trouble. And the kids that survive that, they perform on the floor when it counts. They perform on the floor, and it's just demanding excellence. And another thing, just listening to him since he first took the job. Ty, we was at the same event when he first got the job at the Flat Top. He's brutally honest. And to tell you the truth, when he first started talking, I was like, okay. And he's brutally honest about just a lot of different things that he says. Like I think he just spews it out. And at first, when he first got there, it could be like, but just looking at right now, I mean, it just shows that he's just brutally honest, and he taps into that basketball soul of these kids, and they just perform on the court. Whether good times or bad times, and it's been awesome as a basketball guy. It gives us feelings like we haven't had in a while. To just watch this, transpire. Things that we're seeing right now.
There are certain teams that represent the fabric of New York because of the personalities, because of the coaches, because of how they play. Obviously, you start with different Knicks teams from the past. In our lifetime, it was obviously the 90s Knicks. How much does this St. John's team, their makeup, their attitude, their commitment to defense, how much does that represent the fabric of New York and what New York City basketball has been craving for so long to have a college winner again?
It's the old New York, right? It's the old New York, right? And I hope it carries over into to the space of the high schools, middle schools, and the younger kids, right? Because when I was playing, I had no choice but to play like that. When I was at St. John's, we had no choice. There wasn't an option, right? It was already ingrained in us. You know what I mean? So watching them play the way they're playing and competing, like for literally like 41 minutes. Like they play when the game is over. It looks like, you know what I'm saying. So I enjoy that type of intensity, and I just hope it's translated into the younger New York generation, so that we can, because I'm biased, so we can get some more local kids in the program.
I mean, that's an excellent point, Ty. I mean, everything Ty just talked about. But just like I said, I grew up in Harlem, which is like 4 miles up from the Garden. I was there. I was about 13 when that 1984-85 team, took prominence, with Louis and Walter Berry, Chris Mullin, Mark Jackson, and those guys, Bill Winnington, uh, Mike Moses, Sean Jones. I mean, I probably can name the whole team. But they captivated me. This year's team just captivated me as just a basketball guy from New York City. I know I went to St. John's. I'm a bias. I'm biased just like Ty. But this team captivated me because sometimes they don't play like offensively well, but the defense is just always tenacious. And sometimes the defense doesn't start off as tenacious, and it gets real hectic for the other team by the time they call their first time out, or probably literally after the first time out, as everybody knows. So they captivated me, just a basketball lover, just to watch this and just to be a local team. And just like Ty said, I hope our young kids in New York City, New York State, but especially New York City, I hope they're watching. I hope that they see what's going on. I hope they understand that defense is the thing that wins games. And yeah, work on your craft. Work on your craft. So if you ever get to the moment, that you can perform in the moment, and hopefully, like Ty said, we can start giving some of the New York City kids in the program, a la myself, a la Mr. Grant.
Something we talked about quickly over the weekend when we were starting to prepare for this. Ty, you said it. Defensively, they just wear you down to the point where at some point in that second half they're going to break your will. Can you speak to that a little bit, and
Absolutely.
how strategically that has also worked with the pressure and the defenses, and just spell that out for our audience?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we have our stars, right? We got the guys that they consider the stars, the AP All-American, first team, second team biggest. We have those stars. But one of the unsung heroes is Aaron Scott. Like, what people don't notice is that those deflections and those turnovers that's caused, that's a mental breakdown for the other team. Like, I was telling a buddy of mine who's sitting next to me around the 7-minute mark of the championship game, I said, just pay attention to the center, right? Pay attention for the first 23 minutes or the first 33 minutes. He was sprinting up and down the court. He never looked for the bench for a timeout, and he was moving his hands. I said, now look at the center and look at the point guard. They have no emotion in the game. They're just doing it, right? And that's a physical breakdown. When your body start feeling tight, then your head start feeling crazy. Then you start making these crazy, and then you have these super, super talented players like Aaron Scott, who's just creating chaos by switching and rebounding and catching loose balls. This guy went for a loose ball and was 30 seconds left. So again, fans don't really probably see that part of the game, but for guys like me and Shawnelle, like, we see that part and we get even more excited because we know there's more, right? Just in case they would have did some crazy shit and had to go into overtime, we knew they were still ready because they diving and getting loose balls. So, it's certain parts of the game that you watch and you analyze. And again, I can speak for Shawnelle. Even when they was down because of them. It wasn't nothing Creighton was doing. So that's why I'm already thinking Final Four for them, because they haven't really put together two halves of just chaos on defense and playing really smart offense. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful experience just to watch it from just a basketball perspective.
First of all, Aaron Scott, who's my cousin, by the way. Now let me stop. But Aaron Scott, he's everywhere. It's so. Oh, I can't even tell you how it is just watch this kid, especially when they're at their highest heights. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to keep it just simple as far as the defense that I've witnessed this whole year. And I've been to a lot of practices this season, last season, but definitely more this season. I've been to a lot of the games this season. What I see with the defense is just containment. Everything is contained. There's usually no loose ends. And sometimes there's a breakdown every once in a while. Pick and rolls. You got to dive. You got, getting out to the shooters. Help help defense. It's just like all the aspects of the defense, and that ball is contained for a lot of the game. And teams, that's why they get worn down, because it's just like, all right, I do one counter, I do another counter, I do another counter, and it's just all contained. It's the brilliance of Rick, but it's. I definitely want to give those kids their flowers as far as listening to instruction and then implementing that on the court and making their mark. I call it, making your mark, making sure you get to that shooter, making sure you get to that guy who's penetrating, even if it's not your man. Make sure you're switching when you have to. Make sure you contain the wingman like Zuby does so many different times. So I think that's a big key to their defense. Why they like fourth in the country as far as defense efficiency.
As of today, number one.
And as of today is number one. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear there's accountability there, there's passion there, there's intensity there, and they are following the game plan and more. So, you guys mentioned Final Four. Shawnelle, you mentioned the 1985 team, of course, which was the last time St. John's was in the Final Four. They came very close in '99, being in the Elite Eight. They, of course, were Big East champions back in 2000. So,
hey, don't forget '91. I keep teasing Ty. Don't forget '91 Elite Eight.
it's been a long time since
Time.
we could tie back to these happenings, right? And obviously, there's so much nostalgia around Big East championships. There's so much nostalgia around Final Four and seeing Chris Mullen in that St. John's uniform and seeing Walter Berry at the game. And obviously, Mully coached there for a minute, and he was the last coach to have them in the tournament. So, as Selection Sunday unfolded, the bracket is released. You knew they were going to be a 2 seed, pretty much. It was just a question of placement, matchup, and path. So please, both of you share, what do you think of the placement, the first round matchup, and the path ahead for the Johnnies as we look to the tournament?
Good question. For me, and I'm not just speaking as a silly fan's perspective, but just a basketball observer and someone who really respects the game. I think they have a path to success, right? I think everybody on their side of the bracket, again, I'm saying Final Four, and I'm saying that worst case scenario. And I'm saying that based off of potential matchups, including upsets. I looked at the bracket, even when I was there with St. John's University and the team and Rick, and they made the announcement. I mean, shout out to Tyleek Brown. As soon as he made the announcement, Tyleek got up and left and went to go get tape for Omaha. So with that team, obviously Rick is the leader and his support team, I know they're going to be ready for whoever they play. But my opinion on where they will end up is the Final Four. Doesn't matter who they play against. I think, again, we could go back to why. The why is the defense. The why is the talent on the offensive end. And we're still waiting for that 40 minutes of chaos offensive and defensively. You know what I mean? I mean, they can wait if they want to the national championship to give us that. But the way they play, the expectations for me are high.
Yeah, and first things too, I want to give the flowers to the coaching staff. Rick Pitino, all the coaching staff. Van Macon, Ricky John, Tyleek Brown, Bob Walsh, Greg. I don't know Greg's last name, but just all the coaches, the strength and conditioning guys as well. This NCAA is a new animal. Even though like the Big East was a different animal, and they passed the test. The Big East regular season was an animal. We talked about that, before the season. I was talking about that with some people. But this NCAA is a different animal because it's one game and you're done. So little mistakes can basically cost you to go home. But I definitely feel that this team will, we will get to the Final Four. I'm gonna be biased and have them going all the way. That's just me. But they've proven as far as they're the number one defensive team in the country. And shots sometimes the NCAA they wasn't falling before, but sometimes shots start falling. So you put that with the defense, shots start falling, and then you have a really dominant team. And it's some cause for concern as far as in the bracket. The West. We got Florida, UConn, Oklahoma, Memphis. Maryland. I wouldn't count them out. I wouldn't even count like a team like Missouri out. Texas Tech, Kansas, Arkansas. So there's a few teams, and I'm definitely not going to look past Omaha. Maybe not a more strength conference than the Big East, but they got some players that can play. So with this tournament, you can't overlook anybody. You got to take a game at a time. And Omaha is on deck right now. I do believe that we will beat them, but I don't want our kids, and I know it's not going to be the coach, but I just don't want our kids to feel a false sense of security in any way. Because Omaha is like in the Summit League, and it might not be a tough game. You can get knocked off, and I've saw some great number twos in the past 30 years. I've been watching NCAA basically since 1985, and a little bit before, and you could get knocked off by a team if you sleep on them. So, but I do have a lot of faith in our team, and I know they're going to do well.
I don't listen. I don't, just off the first thing you said about the coaching staff, I don't think the kids is even going to be they're not going to be ill prepared to take off Omaha head, period. Right? And plus they're a little bit older and mature too. So I think with the way this coaching staff has approached every game, again, as you know now, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And to dominate them at the last game is even more.
A little strange. It was a little strange.
It's a little strange. The last 2 games, Marquette, and the way they dominated them, the 3rd game, come on, man. And the stakes was high. Come on, man. I don't give a fuck about none of that other stuff.
Yeah,
right?
They beat those.
I think they'll be ready every game.
They beat those teams 5 out of 6 times. Marquette and Creighton, right? 5 out of 6. They only lost to Creighton once.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But you know how it is, Ty. That NCAA humbling thing. It can be very humbling. Like you go in there, slow start, time is ticking, time not on your side, and then that's when the pressure bust pipes things start to work in. But I don't feel that's gonna happen to our kids.
Nah.
Like Ty said, they prepared. They've been through the war or the Big East.
We may need to give them an NIL bonus for these games too. Now we gotta probably go speak to everybody about that.
So hold that NIL thought for a moment. But my next question, before Nell, you mentioned the word pressure. All the pressure's on St. John's. There's no pressure on Omaha. They're the 15th seed, right? That's why those low seeds come out firing. They get hot. The other team tenses up, and then you're in a battle. And I think we've heard the announcers say this before on television. If you give the underdog belief that they can win, then they can win.
But the only thing
my question is, what does St. John's need to do? Just one thing from each of you, off the tip, to come out there and make sure that Omaha has no belief they're going to win this basketball game.
I would, Kyle, let me go first. I would say supreme focus from the tip. No let up. Just you start the game the way you ended all of these games that you won, which you are capable of doing. There's no reason why you don't want to come out like focused right away.
So me, it's simple. You got to continue to have the I don't give a fuck attitude, right? It doesn't matter. We're here to finish off what we started. These guys, most of these guys, this is their last opportunity to win anything, right? Because as we know, if they're fortunate enough to go to the next level, that's even harder to win a game. But now you're in a situation where you can come home with the gold again, right? So you got to have the I don't give a fuck attitude. And watching this team play, that's probably another reason why I like them. Because I see when they're in the game, it doesn't matter. You know, you got AO coming into the game like he a starter, playing loose, playing crazy defense, shooting 3. Like, I like that from guys. So I think that they're going to come in there knowing that they may have a proof point. And plus, speaking to some of them after the announcement, some of them thought they were supposed to get a 1 seed. So again, if you go in there with just that type of chip on your shoulder, we won't leave no doubt.
And what's so amazing about this group of kids this season, it's like sometimes they get themselves in tough situations, and I see no panic from these kids. Panic. It's so beautiful to watch. It's just being an alumni from the school, but it's like it's no panic. And it's been so many games, like they've been like in different, difficult situations, and they get out of it just by staying the course, and that's not always easy. So that's what gives me confidence on top of the stuff Ty was talking about. It's like these kids, they're not gonna fold under. We don't want to go down and be in a difficult situation. I want to avoid the difficult situations. But if we do, we know that, until that clock goes off, you got to be worried about us.
So, speaking of difficult situations, each round, the challenges increase, right? No disrespect to Omaha, but we have to look at what could be a second round matchup with either Kansas, coached by Bill Self, or Arkansas, coached by John Calipari. What would a Pitino Calipari, and you guys have both said the term 40 minutes of hell already to describe St. John's defense, and now Calipari at the helm of Arkansas. What would a Pitino Calipari, St. John's, Arkansas second round matchup just be for the nostalgic basketball heads like us that have seen all of their coaching careers? Pitino dating back to the 80s, and of course, Cal on the national scene first in the 90s with UMass. Then to the NBA, and then, of course, with Kentucky, now Arkansas.
Epic, right? Epic. And guess what? We're gonna all be part of it. So either team that they play is going to be a big deal. Norm Roberts is on the bench, former St. John's coach for Kansas, right? I want to kick his ass too, right? So him, Calipari, it don't even matter who we play, because again, there's a competition between the young men on the court. Then there's an off-the-court competition with me and these guys in New York who went to these schools. Me and Nell got to win at all costs, right? We got to bust people like Kareem Reed's ass and all these other guys that play for these universities, because we're from a time where St. John's was a landing spot. That was a choice, right? So these guys and this new team and this new coaching staff is bringing that back. So you're talking about nostalgia, but I'm also talking about the current effect of St. John's winning in New York. So again, it's important that they come out and kick everybody ass with the nostalgia, the name. Fuck that. We got to kick their ass. We got to kick everybody ass, especially in that second round, so I can get ready to go to San Francisco.
The second round is going to be basketball glory. I can tell you that. I mean, just to witness Pitino and Calipari go at it, two accomplished coaches, matching wits and minds, it's going to be great. So, for basketball, for St. John's fans, it's going to be over the moon. For New York City, for New York fans, New York, based basketball fans, it's going to be fantastic. And if they play Kansas as well, just like Todd said, they got a former one of our former head coaches that's with them. Zuby was a former Kansas player. I'm pretty sure he's going to be motivated to try to win that game to go to the Sweet 16. It's going to be just basketball glory, and I'm going to be just blessed. Hope, I don't want to jinx. I don't hope, the fan base or coaches see this and think I'm jumping ahead. I'm not jumping ahead at any regard.
I'm jumping ahead. I don't go fuck. I'm jumping ahead.
It's going to be just a pleasure to be there and watch that game, and for us to reign supreme and get that win and go to the Sweet 16.
Before we wrap up, I think it's important, and Ty, you alluded to some NIL dollars. What has this new landscape been like through both of your lenses, and how, in many ways, has it helped get St. John's back on the map by following the protocols and what's been allowed, whether it's been NIL, whether it's been transfer portal? Paint a picture of what this new landscape has been like for St. John's College basketball.
Well, specifically for St. John's, right? This is night and day. We're from a city that if you're a big deal, if you're winning, everybody's engaged, everybody's involved. NIL would never be a problem in New York City as long as you win. I mean, go figure. If these other smaller colleges win as well, they're going to get some New York City money. But guess what? We don't even winning. We don't even playing right now. So in terms of the landscape of college basketball, it is what it is. It's always been a big business. Now they got to share, right? Everybody got to share now. But I have a love and hate relationship with NIL. At the same time, I love it because of the opportunity to earn significant cash. And let's be honest, most of these kids probably won't make this type of money after college, right? So maximize the opportunity while you're there. Why not win and make money, right? Why not win, make money, and get your degree, right? So my perspective is a little more than just receiving money. It's also about saving the money, what you're going to do with the money. But invest and the experience of being on a college campus like St. John. Invest in New York, because we're going to invest in you. All you got to do is win. That's your pressure. You win, we're going to invest in you.
We're
It's
gonna
that
love you.
simple.
Yeah, you win here, we're gonna love you. We love this team right now. I had a conversation with Zuby back in just a short one after the game in Bahamas when we lost to Baylor by like the last second shot. And just I didn't realize he was so good. And I was just telling him, man, listen, don't worry about it, man. New York is gonna love you. I'm telling you. It is what it is as far as like NIL and kids, getting money, name, image, and likeness. I understand totally. It probably could be some things that they could do to just make it better. But these kids, they come in and they take a chance with some of these universities. They should be compensated. It's high pressure. It's high stakes basketball. Especially with the big conferences, they should be compensated. I just wish and I hope that kids make they calculate their decision as far as like don't just be driven by the money. If it's there, don't also try to do something as far as like have the best fit. So you could go somewhere and you can maximize your potential and win, like Todd said. Go get the money, win, get your degree. And some kids they leave early, but you should try to calculate it a little bit. I think not just try to chase it, because I think you could go down a rabbit hole just trying to chase it, and then when it's over, it's over. And you'll never make that amount of money again. So if you calculate it, you can maximize your athletic potential and probably and hopefully. Not only can you get the money, but you can go somewhere, be a best fit, win, and then maybe, you can have a professional basketball career.
Or you can sit home and figure out what's your next career move with a couple $100,000 in the bank.
That too.
That's what you can do, right? Because we know, Mr. Scott, yourself and myself are the exception, right? So we can never forget that in these conversations, despite what social media may tell these kids with these $7 million likes and all that shit. The truth is that the benefits of the NIL could last years after you leave the university.
And Ty, I just want to speak specifically for St. John's. I would hope that the kids that we recruit or the kids we're trying to get, I would hope there is something in them that's not just 100% like I'm going to St. John's to get this bag or whatever. I'm going to get this check, and then they get here. And Rick Pitino said something to him one or two times, and all of a sudden, they just, they fold under, So I just hope that they can find a medium as far as look, we got the money. I don't think we're gonna lose anybody to any money anytime soon, right?
That's not gonna happen.
So that's fine. So, but at the same time, when you get here, I'm just hoping that the characteristics of the kid can just sustain the high pressure, high expectation demand of just playing the best and being the best you can be,
Agreed.
And I think that's the bottom line. I think.
Agreed. Let me leave you with this, E, in regards to the NIL in connection with New York City. I think this St. John's wave that's going on right now is beautiful because we're winning. All over TV, they're talking about NIL and having, this person Rapoli part of the program, consistency. But for my New York community, all my grassroots programs, do me a favor and develop these kids so that they can be eligible to at least get recruited by St. John's and be in these discussions about the bag, right? Because we don't have that many kids, if any, who are even good enough to go to St. John's right now. And that hurts me to say, but that's the reality of New York City right now, despite all these people telling them these wrong signals. St. John's ain't looking for these kids right now in the city, but that shit can change in a year. That can change in 2 years. And it can be consistent where they have a young man from Harlem, heavily recruited kid from Harlem, come to St. John's, or a kid from Brooklyn, heavily recruited kid from Brooklyn, stay his ass home like we want. So again, the NIL is a beautiful thing, but the college experience is better than the NIL. Winning is better than the NIL. And NIL is like an added bonus. And we need to always remind these kids and these advisors out here that this is the way to go, not fucking, I need the bag. You've been broke forever. Like, it don't matter.
One thing I want to get into specifically on this show in the off season is that topic. How do you keep New York kids at home? Through my journey, Rod Strickland has become a friend, and what Rod has started to do at LIU, and they were 2 wins away from the tournament this year. Not only having his son play for him, but keep keep New York kids home at LIU, if St. John's can do the same thing and give them that true magical New York City college basketball experience where now there are resources, there are dollars, and it's the culture that has been created there. And again, I go back to that question I asked in the middle of the show about Coach Pitino. To be able to establish that type of culture wherever you go in a second year where you can elevate a program to win, regardless of where you are, speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about him. It speaks volumes about the people around him. And it speaks volumes about the people that are supporting this program and believing in it. So I'm so thrilled to be on this journey with you guys. You have been listening to the first episode of The Storm with Shawnelle Scott, Tyrone Grant, producer Ruben Rivera, producer and I guess temporary point guard floor general Eric Newman. As a basketball lifer, as a filmmaker, content creator, storyteller, this is my wheelhouse. So I'm so happy to be here with you guys. And the madness has already begun.
Let's do
St.
it.
John's, Omaha, first round. You guys will be checking in from the road, so look out for stuff on social media.
Yep.
On Instagram, we will be at The Storm NYC. So at The Storm NYC, YouTube at The Storm NYC. We'll get those short clips out to you guys on YouTube Shorts along with this full episode. And follow us, subscribe, share it. Let's get this thing going. The Storm is back in NYC, and this is going to be a great ride. Thank you both.
Let's do it.
Johnny Nation, rise up.
Let's go, baby.